What happens inside a woman's brain during genuine, skilled, attentive intimacy is something that neuroscience has only recently begun to fully map, and the findings are extraordinary. Today, I want to walk you through what is actually happening neurologically, emotionally, and physically when a woman experiences pleasure at the deepest level. Because when you understand the science, the way you show up for your partner changes completely. Here's what the most confident, most connected, most sexually satisfied men over 60 have in common. It is not their testosterone levels. It is not their fitness. It is not any pill or supplement. It is a specific understanding of their partner's body and a specific set of skills that most men were simply never taught. Today, I am teaching them to you. My name is Dr. Julia Rhodes. I am a certified men's sex therapist with over a decade of clinical experience working exclusively with male sexual health and intimate relationships. Over that time, I have worked with thousands of men and thousands of couples, helping them navigate the questions that nobody else was answering honestly. Questions about performance, about desire, about connection, about what it means to be a truly skilled, truly present, truly satisfying partner at every stage of life. What I bring to this channel is simple. Real clinical knowledge grounded in peer-reviewed research, delivered without embarrassment and without judgment. Because the men who watch this channel deserve exactly that. And what I am sharing with you today is some of the most important information I have ever put into a single video. Before we go any further, if you are a man over 60 who wants to understand his partner more deeply, perform with more confidence, and build the kind of intimate connection that most couples only dream about, subscribe to this channel right now. Every week, I bring you clinically grounded, research-backed conversations about men's sexual health that you will not find anywhere else. Subscribe, and let's get into it. What most men were never taught. Let me start with something that is not your fault. The vast majority of men over 60 received absolutely no meaningful education about female pleasure. Not in school, not from their fathers, not from any cultural conversation that took the topic seriously. What most men learned about intimacy came from peers, from trial and error, and from sources that were far more interested in male experience than female experience. The result is a generation of men who are genuinely caring, genuinely loving partners who have spent decades being intimate with their partners without ever truly understanding what she was actually experiencing. Not physically, not neurologically, not emotionally. And that gap, that absence of real knowledge, has quietly shaped the quality of intimacy in more relationships than most people realize. Here is what I know from over a decade of clinical practice. When a man truly understands his partner's experience, when he understands her anatomy, her neurology, her emotional landscape during intimacy, everything changes. Not just for her, for him. His confidence changes, his presence changes, the entire dynamic of the intimate relationship shifts in ways that both partners feel immediately and profoundly. That understanding is what this video is about, and it begins with anatomy because you cannot truly understand her experience without first understanding the extraordinary physical structure that underlies it. The anatomy of her pleasure, what most men have never been shown. Let me ask you something directly. How much do you actually know about the clitoris? Most men, if they are honest, know only what is visible, the small external structure, the tip. And that is precisely the problem, because what is visible is only a fraction of what actually exists. The clitoris is not a small external organ. It is a large, complex internal structure, and the visible tip is roughly the equivalent of seeing only the peak of an iceberg above the surface. The full clitoral structure extends deep inside the body. It has two internal arms called crura that extend backward and downward on either side. It has two vestibular bulbs that wrap around and alongside the vaginal canal. The entire internal structure spans approximately 10 centimeters in total, and every part of it is erectile tissue, meaning it fills with blood, swells, and becomes sensitized during arousal in a process that is neurologically and physiologically parallel to male erection. Now here is the detail that changes everything. The clitoris contains approximately 10,000 nerve endings. To put that in perspective, the entire male anatomy contains around 4,000. The clitoris, a structure largely hidden from view and almost never discussed in mainstream education, is the most nerve-dense structure in the entire human body, male or female. And because the internal structure wraps around the vaginal canal, oral stimulation of the external tip does not simply create surface sensation. It activates the entire internal architecture simultaneously. Pressure, warmth, and the specific quality of oral contact send sensation rippling through the full structure, creating a layered, whole-body neurological experience that no other form of stimulation reliably replicates. This is not opinion, this is anatomy. And understanding it changes the entire framework through which a man approaches his partner's pleasure. Because when you understand that you are not stimulating a small external point, but activating an entire internal system of 10,000 nerve endings, the patience, the attention, and the intentionality you bring to the experience shifts completely. Now, I want to pause here for just a moment, because what I have just shared with you about anatomy is one piece of a much larger picture. And if you are the kind of man who wants the complete picture, not just one piece, but the entire puzzle assembled and handed to you, I want you to know that I have created something specifically for that. I made a dedicated video that walks through a complete program designed for men over 60 who are serious about their sexual health, their performance, and their partnership. This program covers everything from fixing erection and performance issues at their root, to the specific techniques that make a man truly exceptional in bed after 60, to how to bring your partner's desire level into genuine alignment with yours. Every piece of the puzzle assembled in order, guided step by step. The link to that video is pinned in the comment section and in the video description right now. I want you to watch it after this one because what we are covering today is powerful, but the complete program takes everything further than a single video ever could. For now, let's continue because the anatomy is only the beginning. What is happening in her brain? The neuroscience of female pleasure. Understanding the anatomy is one thing. Understanding what that anatomy triggers inside her brain is something else entirely. And it is where this conversation becomes genuinely extraordinary. Neuroscientist Dr. Barry Komisaruk at Rutgers University has conducted some of the most detailed neuroimaging research ever performed on female sexual response. Using functional MRI, brain scanning technology that maps real-time neural activity, his research demonstrated something remarkable. Female genital stimulation activates a broader region of the brain's sensory cortex than almost any other physical stimulus ever studied. The brain does not process this experience as a localized physical sensation. It processes it as a whole brain event. Let me explain what that means in practice. When a woman experiences skilled, attentive oral stimulation, three major neurological pathways activate simultaneously. The first is the pudendal nerve, the primary sensory nerve of the external genitalia. This is the pathway most people are aware of. It carries direct physical sensation from the clitoral tip to the spinal cord and up to the brain's sensory processing centers. The second is the pelvic nerve, which carries sensation from the deeper internal structures, including the vestibular bulbs and the internal arms of the clitoral complex. This is the pathway activated by the deeper, more diffuse internal sensations that skilled stimulation creates. The third, and perhaps the most extraordinary, is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is one of the longest nerves in the human body, running from the brainstem down through the chest and abdomen. Dr. Komisaruk's research documented that in some women, the vagus nerve carries genital sensation directly to the brain, completely bypassing the spinal cord. This is clinically significant because it means that even women with spinal cord injuries can experience orgasm. And for women with intact neurology, vagal activation during intimacy creates an experience that is felt not just genitally, but throughout the entire body, in the chest, the abdomen, the throat. What this means is that when a woman is genuinely deeply aroused, when the experience is skilled and attentive enough to activate all three pathways simultaneously, what she is experiencing is not a localized physical event. It is a full-body neurological experience. Dopamine surges through the reward circuitry, creating intense motivation and pleasure. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is released in waves, creating profound feelings of closeness and attachment. Serotonin modulates the emotional experience, creating a sense of well-being and safety. And endorphins, the brain's natural analgesic and euphoric compounds, flood the system, creating a physical sensation of warmth, weightlessness, and release that many women struggle to describe in words. This is what is happening inside her brain, and here is the clinical significance of all of it for you specifically. This neurological cascade, this full brain, full body experience cannot be rushed. It cannot be forced. It cannot be triggered by mechanical technique alone. It requires a specific quality of attention, patience, and presence that most men were never taught to bring. The men who understand this, who approach their partner's pleasure with the patience that this neurological process requires, are the men whose partners describe the experience as genuinely transformative. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about, what she actually feels, the physical and emotional truth. I want to be precise with you about something that the research makes very clear, and that most conversations about female pleasure completely miss. For women, the physical and emotional experience of intimacy cannot be cleanly separated. This is not a cultural observation, it is a neurological one. The same oxytocin release that creates the physical sensations of warmth and connection during intimacy is simultaneously creating feelings of emotional closeness, trust, and attachment. The brain does not process the physical and the emotional on separate tracks. They are woven together in the same neurochemical event. What this means in practice is profound. When a woman experiences skilled, attentive oral intimacy, the physical sensation she feels is inseparable from what she feels about her partner in that moment. The feeling of being truly seen, the feeling of being prioritized, the experience of her partner's complete, unhurried attention focused entirely on her pleasure. Research published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior documents this clearly. Women consistently report significantly higher emotional intimacy and relationship satisfaction from oral intimacy than from intercourse alone. And the primary reason cited is not the physical sensation itself. It is the perceived selflessness of the act, the sustained, focused attention it requires, the vulnerability it creates in both partners. Women describe feeling during these moments something that goes beyond physical pleasure. They describe feeling genuinely desired, genuinely cherished, genuinely chosen. And for women over 50 and 60, in a cultural landscape that often makes women this age feel invisible, less desirable, or past their most vital years, that experience of feeling genuinely, deeply desired by their partner carries an emotional weight that is almost impossible to overstate. I have sat with women in their 60s who wept in my consulting room, describing what it meant to feel that their partner still wanted to know their body, still wanted to prioritize their pleasure, still approached intimacy with curiosity and care, rather than habit and routine. That is what is at stake in this conversation. Not technique, not performance, not any metric that can be measured or compared. The experience of being truly seen by the person you love, and the extraordinary thing, the thing I want every man watching this to understand, is that you have the complete ability to create that experience right now, at this stage of life, with the partner you have. The only thing standing between you and that level of connection is understanding and intention, both of which you are building right now. Her body after 60, why this matters more now than ever. I want to address something directly because it is a source of confusion and sometimes anxiety for many of the men I work with. Her body has changed. Postmenopausal changes are real, significant, and widely misunderstood. And understanding them, truly understanding them, is one of the most important things a man over 60 can do for his intimate relationship. Here is what happens physiologically after menopause. Estrogen levels decline significantly. This affects vaginal tissue in several specific ways. The tissue becomes thinner and more sensitive. Natural lubrication decreases and takes longer to develop. The vaginal canal may shorten slightly, and the vulvar tissue, including the external clitoral structures, may become more sensitive to pressure and friction in ways that require a gentler, more attentive approach. Now, here is where most men make a critical interpretive error. They read these changes as obstacles, as limitations, as evidence that intimacy after 60 is inherently diminished or more complicated. The clinical reality is the opposite. These physiological changes do not reduce her capacity for pleasure. In many cases, with the right approach, they amplify it. Because the increased sensitivity of postmenopausal tissue means that gentle, warm, well-paced oral stimulation creates sensations that are more intense, more diffuse, and more deeply felt than at any earlier stage of her life. Research published in Menopause, the Journal of the Menopause Society, confirms this clearly. Oral intimacy is consistently rated as one of the most satisfying forms of sexual contact for postmenopausal women. Specifically because it is inherently gentle, inherently lubricated, and inherently adaptable to her body's changing responses in a way that no other form of intimacy can match. What her body needs after menopause is not less intimacy. It is more skilled intimacy, more patience, more warmth, more attentiveness to her specific responses rather than assumptions based on what worked years ago. More willingness to learn her body as it is now, not as it was. And the men who bring that quality of attention to their partners at this stage of life consistently report something remarkable in return. Their partners become more present, more open, more genuinely desirous than they have been in years. Because for a woman whose body has changed and who may have quietly begun to expect less from intimacy as a result, being met with skill, patience, and genuine curiosity is an experience that reawakens something she had stopped expecting to feel. That reawakening is available to you and to her right now, at this exact stage of life. What the most skilled men do differently, the approach that changes everything. Everything I have shared with you in this video, the anatomy, the neuroscience, the emotional landscape, the postmenopausal dimension, points toward the same conclusion. Skill in this area is not about technique alone. The men who are most skilled, the men whose partners describe their intimate experiences as genuinely extraordinary, share a specific set of qualities that have nothing to do with physical mechanics and everything to do with how they show up. Let me walk you through what those qualities actually are. The first quality is genuine curiosity, not assumption, not habit, not doing what worked before and hoping it still applies. genuine, present moment curiosity about what her body is communicating right now. The most skilled men treat every intimate encounter as an opportunity to learn, not to perform a routine they have already mastered. Her body is not static. Her responses change with her cycle, her stress levels, her emotional state, her age, and dozens of other variables. The man who approaches her with curiosity rather than assumption will always be more attuned and more satisfying than the man who operates on autopilot. The second quality is patience that communicates desire. Patience is perhaps the single most powerful signal a man can send to a woman during intimacy. Not patience as passive waiting, but patience as active, unhurried attention. The neurological cascade I described earlier, the full brain activation, the oxytocin release, the whole body experience, takes time to build. It cannot be rushed. And a man who communicates through his pace that he has nowhere else to be, nothing else he would rather be doing, no outcome he is racing toward, creates the neurological and emotional conditions for his partner to fully surrender to the experience. Women describe this quality more than any other as the difference between intimacy that is pleasant and intimacy that is transformative. The third quality is reading her responses rather than performing for them. There is a difference between a man who is paying attention to her responses and a man who is performing a technique and hoping for a specific reaction. Women feel this difference immediately and profoundly. Her body communicates constantly during intimacy, through breath, through movement, through sound, tension, and release. The most skilled men have learned to read this communication in real time and respond to it fluidly. They slow when she needs depth. They intensify when she signals readiness. They shift when she shifts. They stay when she stays. This responsiveness, this real-time attunement, is what creates the experience of feeling truly seen that I described earlier, because it tells her, without words, that her experience is the priority, not his technique, not his performance, her. The fourth quality is the absence of agenda. This is the subtlest and perhaps the most powerful of all. The most intimate and satisfying experiences women describe are almost universally characterized by one thing, the feeling that her partner had no agenda other than her pleasure. No clock, no performance target, no expected outcome, just complete, generous, unhurried presence. When a man approaches intimacy with that quality of generosity, the neurological and emotional conditions for the deepest possible pleasure are fully in place. And what his partner experiences as a result is not just physical satisfaction. It is the feeling of being completely, unconditionally loved. Let's bring everything together. Today you learn something that most men, through no fault of their own, were never taught. You now understand the full anatomy of female pleasure, not the surface-level version, the real version, the 10,000 nerve endings, the internal structure that extends deep into the body, the erectile tissue that feels and sensitizes during arousal, the layered whole-body experience that skilled oral stimulation creates in ways that no other form of intimacy reliably replicates. You now understand the neuroscience, the three neurological pathways that activate simultaneously, the full brain sensory event that Dr. Komisaruk's research mapped so clearly, the neurochemical cascade, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, that creates an experience felt not just physically but emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. You understand why the physical and emotional cannot be separated for women, why feeling seen, prioritized, and genuinely desired is not separate from the physical experience. It is woven into the same neurological event, and why that emotional dimension becomes proportionally more powerful, more significant, and more transformative as both of you move through this stage of life together. You understand her body as it is now, not as it was. The postmenopausal changes that most men misread as limitations, and that are, with the right approach, an invitation to a deeper and more exquisitely attuned intimacy than anything you may have experienced before. And you understand what the most skilled, most connected, most genuinely satisfying men do differently. Not the mechanics, the qualities. Curiosity, patience, presence, the complete absence of agenda, the generosity of attention that tells a woman without a single word that she's exactly where she's supposed to be, with exactly the right person, and that her pleasure is the only thing that matters right now. That is what is available to you. Not someday, not after some transformation or some intervention, now, with the partner you have, at the age you are, with the body you are in. The only thing that was ever missing was the knowledge, and now you have it. If this video gave you something real today, a new understanding, a shift in how you see your partner's experience, a sense of possibility that perhaps was not fully there before, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave me a comment below. Tell me what landed for you. Tell me what question this raised that you want me to answer next. I read every single comment on this channel, and this community shapes everything I create. Subscribe if you have not already, and go and watch the pinned video in the comments and description, the one that takes everything we covered today and builds it into a complete guided program from beginning to end. Because you deserve the complete picture, not just one piece of it. You are not too old for this, you are not too late. And the woman in your life, the one who has been beside you through everything, deserves the version of you that finally has all the answers. I'm Dr. Julia Rhodes. I'll see you in the next one.